What's up, Golden Bears? This is the Ajax Horse Challenge, Release 0. A horse has a name, age, and breed. Create the validations and models for the horse. So we will be going over to the terminal um, and be doing that right now. Be rake, generate model, name equals horse. Cool. Just generated the horse model. Model horse. Cool. So this is what the horse model looks like after you type in your command in the command line. Validation, so we need validations also. It has a name, age, and breed. So validates name, age, breed, presence, true. Cool. So that is release 0. Release 1 of Horses Ajax Challenge. Go ahead and create, migrate, and seed your database. Add any IDs, classes, or partials you need to complete the requirements. Cool, so now we probably need to create a horses migration, which is brake generate migration name equals create horses. Cool. The migration has been created. Let's navigate over to the migration. Basic migration file. We'll need to create a table for horses with name, age, and breed. Cool. That's now completed. Now we will need to create, migrate, and seed. Brake db create brake db migrate. Looks good. Cool. Brake db seed. Cool. Now we've seeded our database. Let's check to see if everything works after we shotgun. Cool. 9393. Cool. Sinatra does not know this ditty. Probably because in our controller we have yet to write a horse route. Cool. Now let's really quickly write some routes. Horses do ERB horses slash index. Cool. Now let's go back and check. Cool. Does not know any of the syntax error on horse RB4. No method error at horses. At horses equals horses dot all. At horse dot all. Cool. Cool. Now everything looks tight. We can start the Ajax process. So currently, right now, when we click create new horse, it does nothing. So we would like to render the form using Ajax. Let's go ahead and head over to horse/new, which gives us this form that we want right here, this new horse form container. So, navigating over to our JS file, we notice that this application.js is completely empty. So we need a document.ready function to ensure that our page can load. Let's check it out real quick using inspect. Uncaught reference error, $ is not defined. This probably means that you don't have jQuery. So in order to get jQuery, we need to go to jQuery hosted library. So real quick, we can grab this. We can grab jQuery. Probably let's grab the 2.2 version. Let's do this real quick. P layout. So you'll notice that we have Bootstrap and application CSS and application.js. You want to load your jQuery before the application.js, otherwise your application.js will not have access to jQuery functionality. Refresh and check out our console again. Okay. This looks weird, but seems to be okay. Let's see if we can select something. H2. Let's grab all the H2 tags. Cool. Now jQuery works on our page. That's great. Let's go ahead and write the route to render the form. Get/horses new. Do ERB horses/new. So this, when we click on the link here, should render a new form. Oh, whoops, no method error at horse. So at horse equals horse.new. Let's go ahead and refresh the page. Cool, now we have the form. Now we can go ahead and write some Ajax. If request.xhr, and then we want ERB horses/new layout false. Else we want to just render the ERB. Cool. Let's make sure this still works. Great. Cool. So coming back here, let's go ahead and write some Ajax. On here first though, we have an H3 that is to create the new horse. I don't want to mess with that, so I will create a new div called append area. Cool. So over here, oh, also, this href was previously a hashtag. I just changed it to the URL that we are actually going to hit instead of a hashtag. So, yep, this might be different. You might want to keep an eye out for that. Let's go ahead and write some JavaScript. So right now we have this link that when we click on it, we don't want it to do anything. We want it instead to just render a form instead of redirecting to that route. So over here we can do new horse dot on click function event. Go ahead and open this up. Event dot prevent default. Cool. Now let's go ahead and see if it actually prevents default. Cool, seems to be okay. Let's also, just to make sure, console.log clicking, click, click. We'll open up our dev tools, refresh the page. And cool, as you can see, it's registering the click and it's preventing the default. That is the first thing that you should always do when writing Ajax. Cool. Go ahead and take that out. And now we want to write an Ajax call that when it hits the URL to grab the form, right? Since we already wrote our XHR request, so if we get pinged for this, it'll render the form, and we want it to append to the page whenever this route is hit. So we can go ahead now, let's set up a URL variable so that whenever a URL is clicked, we can just lock it in the URL. Cool. So that is the URL. We can also test whether it works or not, but take my word for it, it's working. You can test it out if you want to by yourself. I'm not going to test it. I know it works. Ajax URL type is get, and then when it's done, I want it to have do this, right? Because when the Ajax call hits the URL, it's going to return the ERB, which we can pass into the function over here. Cool. So we want to hide the button. Then we want to, back here, we want to dot pen to append get form. And if it fails, we want it to render fail, 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 fail. Cool. Now let's go ahead and see. I'm gonna real quick comment that this is the new horse pen function. This is the function of doc ready. Cool. So let's go ahead and go back and see whether or not the form appends. It's refreshing. Oops. I clicked on it one too many times. Let's go ahead and refresh. First click, it should hide the button, and now append it. Cool. So that is your Ajax form appended. Now that we've rendered our form, let's go ahead and create the post route, which our form will hit post slash horses do. Let's go back to our form method post action slash horses. Cool. So now that we've got our form all tight, we can go ahead and create the logic inside of when we can create the logic for the post route. Horse equals horse dot create params dot horse. So this allows us to create a horse with the um, horse variables inside of that form. We know that this is going to be an Ajax call, so if request.xhr, then we want to render the ERB of well, we want to we want to append a partial, so we are going to return a partial horse slash horses slash well, and then we will be creating this partial horse layout false locals horse at horse. So the locals allows us to have access to um, the horse that we just created. Hence, we will be able to um, populate the partial that we've just created. Else, let's just redirect to the index page. So it doesn't do anything. It'll redirect if the request.xhr fails. Cool. So now let's create the partial. Horse.erb. It's in views, horses, and we can save it there. Cool. So now we can create this horse partial. We'll do something like div give it an ID of horse because I don't think there's anything that says horse. And then going back to the index, each do horse, horse ID, a ref, horse name. Cool. So let's go ahead and mimic that. Horse list, add horses each do horse, href, horse name. D horse. H3 a dot class equals name. And outside of here, or inside this a tag, we want horse dot name. Cool, which we will have access to because of these locals. Cool. Now, let's go over here and write our Ajax. Well, now that we've written the logic, let's go ahead and write the Ajax call. So we currently have an append area, so let's go ahead and target this append area for some event delegation, event bubbling. Append area dot on submit of dot submit of the horse form we do function event, and we'll just label this submitting horse form Ajax event. Okay, so we want to do an event dot prevent default. Cool, and let's just go ahead and make sure that this works. Refresh the page. Create a new horse. Great. Cool. Nothing's happening. So it works. Alright, refresh the page. Cool. Now let's go over here. Again, let's create a variable for the URL. This dot attr. And then this time we want to target the action of the form. Bar. And then this is for the data that you've typed into the form. Serialize. So just to make sure that it works, we want to console log the URL and console log the data. Cool. Now let's go back here, open up our dev tools, refresh the page, create a new horse. Georgie, age 12, breed G. Cool. So now we have the URL and the serialized data. In case you can't see, I'll bump up the font size. Cool. So refresh the page, and since we didn't make an Ajax call, the horse was not created. Cool. So now let's go back here. Now that this works, let's go ahead and take it out, and then let's write our Ajax call. Ajax URL is URL, data is data, type is post. Cool. And then on done, we want to function. So the data will be passed back. Function is the response. So we now want to remove the form. So pen area dot empty. And then we want to target the horse list. Horse list dot append the response. And then we want to reshow the button. New horse dot show. Cool. And if it fails, function fail. Oh, we don't really have to pass anything. Long fail, fail, fail. Cool. Now let's go ahead and test it out. Refresh the page. Oh, whoops, wrong page. This one and this one. Refresh the page. Georgie 12 G. Create. Cool, there you go. Now Georgie is there. Cool, and that's, well, let's see. Pen area, new horse show. Why didn't it remove this. Tend area dot empty. Let's go ahead and to class. Create new horse. Fanny 12G. Create. Cool. So I missed a dot over there. And that is how you Ajax um, to add a horse. Release 3. So now that we've added a horse, we want to, whenever we click on the link, to show the details of the horse. So let's go ahead and do that. So you'll notice that when we click on the actual horse, it actually just gives us a hashtag. It doesn't allow us to really do anything, so we have to go back and in our route actually allow us to go to um, a horse route, a specific, horse show page. Horses/ID. Do at horse equals horse dot find params ID. Cool. So now we have access to that horse. And we know that this is also going to be an Ajax call. So if request.xhr and else erb horses slash details slash layout false locals horse at horse. So the reason that our locals are now not just horse is because we want access to that actual horse that's being looked up by the ID. Cool. Else we want to redirect to the index. Cool. So now that we've finished the logic, we can go into um, the horse index page, and we can see that there is a lot of stuff here, right? So we have a div ID of the horse ID, and we have this href that doesn't really tell me anything. And then there's this tag which displays the horse's name. Cool, but we want the href to actually hit the ID of the horse, right? So we want it to actually hit the ID of the horse so we can actually hit this route. Cool. So we have this partial that we created previously. So now, instead of not having um, an href, let's go ahead and, well, Okay, let's take a look at the current page. So Penelope has a div ID of horse 1, horse 2, horse 3, horse 4, horse 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So we, in our partial, um, just to, stay consistent, we should also do this. Horse ID. And then in our aref, we want to do slash horses slash horse dot ID. Cool. So, and then in our index page, instead of all this, let's do horse. We can just render an ERB here. So that would be oops, ERB horses slash horse, comma, layout false, locals, horse, horse. Cool. Now let's go ahead and see if this works. Cool. Let's inspect. Horse 1, horse 2, class name, Penelope, href, horses 1. Cool. That worked. So now going back to our logic, we have if x char horse details. So now we need to create the details. Partial. Views, horses, save. So div ID is details. Open that up. I think it was an H5. Breed. Horse not breed. And then H5. Is it? Let's take a look. Breed and age. Age. Breed. And horse dot age. Cool. So these are the details. Go ahead and save it. And then now we can write the, we have everything we need to write the Ajax call. So let's go ahead and write the Ajax call. Dot name dot on click function event. Then let's event dot prevent default. Cool. Now let's actually make sure that it works. Refresh the page. Cool. Looks like it works. Now let's go ahead and write the things that we need. Var URL equals URL. Oh my god, this dot attr href. Cool. Var my horse. So we need to set this variable because this is what we are going to be appending to. This. And then we write the Ajax call. L is the URL, comma, type, get. Done. So when it's done, we want to function, want to grab the details, then we want to my horse, sorry, this variable dot append details. Cool. Then we are going to on here write comment append details. Cool. So let's go ahead and see if this works. Cool. So now it will append the details. But it will also indefinitely append the details. So if you see that, like if I click Priscilla again, it'll just keep appending the details. So one of the ways to do it is if we go back into details, there's a div ID of details. So one janky way to fix it is to, after I append this, right, after I append the details, well, I want to target the details first, right? ID of details dot hide or remove, right? Like now, like whenever I click on this, it'll give me this, but then it'll also remove the previous details. So now it will not indefinitely append. I mean, there could be like more styling that goes into it, but I think that's about it. And there you have it. Horses Ajax. Let me know if you have any questions and stuff like that. Cool. Thanks. Bye.